Be in Demand with Laurie-Ann is now 2 years old. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you what I have learned about myself and about podcasting and all that goodness in this episode. Let's get on to the show. Hello, hello. I can hardly believe that we are at episode 111. Where does the time go? This was something that I started along with a lot of other people, started podcasts during the global shutdown. And how many of them are around today? Because the average stat of people podcasting is 7. Like a huge majority of people who start podcasting don't make it past episode number 7. So to be at 111 is like, wow, the time went by so fast. But I have learned so much about myself, so much about my voice, so much has changed. And I probably should share with you also that I'm going to be making some changes coming this fall. So something that you can anticipate in the future. And first off, I got to say, my podcast recording muscle has definitely changed. And when I say change, I mean strengthened. I literally remember the very first episode that I had recorded. And I remember just feeling, oh my God, I'm a professional speaker and I can't, like, I'm having trouble with my words. It's almost like a live stream where you are basically talking to yourself at the moment. But that's what it felt like during my very first episodes. Whereas now I'm actually doing this, recording this. And if you're just listening to the audio, there's a whole bunch of them that are recorded and they're over on my YouTube channel. But I look at this as like I'm actually speaking directly to you. Like I picture myself like I'm the one talking, and you've got earbuds and you're listening to me and we're having this intimate conversation together. But when I first started, it was really hard. And I looked at that and I remember because I was recording my podcast in my walk-in closet because it's cushioned nicely with all this clothes and it just sounded good in there. And I remember like coming out, like trying to do my very first episode and just thinking, oh my God, this is so hard. But really, because my very next thought was, no, it's not hard, Laurie-Ann. Your podcast recording muscle is weak. That's all. You just need to get back in there and do it again. And what I did was something that I heard Gary Vee talk about when he did his very first live stream. He just felt like he needed to talk to somebody. So at least this is how the story goes. And I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but either way, it worked for me during this particular moment in my life. Apparently he put a teddy bear on like a bar stool or something on a chair so that it was like he was talking to somebody while he was doing his first live stream, creating his first video. And so I did the same thing. I went and found a picture of a girlfriend of mine and I put it in the closet and I just pretended like I was speaking right to her. Whereas now I know that I am speaking directly to you. Something else that has happened in the past 111 episodes is that I've gotten really good at interviewing questions, at being an interviewer, the guests that I've had on the show. And if you've been watching any of my and any of them or have been listening, if you kind of like just go back to some of my very first interviews versus the interviews that I'm having now, they go deeper. I'm asking different questions. I'm fully present and I almost look at it as like coaching. Like they're talking about their specialty and I'm just using coaching questions to dive deeper. And it just feels so much better too, instead of worrying in the back of my head like, well, what's the next question that I should be asking? Whereas in the beginning, what I did was I asked my guests, like, what are some of the questions that you want me to ask you? And so I was basically just reading off their questions, but at the same time using my professional speaking skills so that making them sound very natural, asking the questions in my words. Another thing is that I've become a much better guest when I've been on other people's podcasts, because now that I've been speaking into my own microphone for the past 2 years, that I'm a better guest, not only with the information that I'm showing up with, but also like giving them all the deliverables ahead of time, but just having the conversation with them. And if they are doing their podcast also as a video cast, that like I'm practicing my virtual speaking skills, which is, and I do this even right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably feel like, wow, she's like really got great eye contact. It's because I'm looking in the camera, and I look in the camera so that you feel like I'm speaking right to you. So when I'm doing guest interviews, and I'm a guest on somebody else's show, I'm giving them great eye contact too, because it's really part of the conversation flow. you know, when a guest is asking me a question and my eyes aren't looking at them, they're looking off to the side or even like looking down, because that's what the Zoom thing is. Unless you have like one of those cameras that hangs from the top of your laptop or your screen, and the camera is actually in the middle of your screen, then you're actually can be looking at the person and you're actually looking directly in the camera. Yes, that is a thing. If you didn't know that, and you want to make better eye contact with people, go find yourself one of those. I probably should leave a link or something to it. I know that there's some on Amazon, but if you just Google like center screen camera, you'll be able to find something. I heard this before, and I have to confirm this now also, is that being a podcast host will make you a better speaker. And here it is, like, I am a speaker and have been speaking for years, but I have to say, yes, it does. It makes me a better speaker. I'm speaking, I know, with more confidence. I've also noticed in the past couple of years, a lot more animated. And I don't think that's a Zoom thing. I think that that's a personal development thing. I know that it's a personal development thing. If you've heard me talk about self-love, if you're one of my clients or one of my good friends, you've heard me talk about this self-love journey that I've been on. And I have to say that if you have not been on a self-love journey, that self-love changes everything. It was something that I stumbled upon. I actually had to ask people, what is this self-love thing? When people say that it changes everything, somebody answer me. And I did get a couple of people who actually answered me. They said, here's what happened to me. And I was like, wow. And I have to confirm that everything that they said, like self-love literally changes everything. So I know that I'm more animated as a in-person speaker, as a virtual speaker, as a podcaster, that a live streamer. I'm a more animated. My voice tone fluctuates. So I have become a better speaker as a result of, having this show and being dedicated to the show, being committed to this show, being committed to you who's listening every single week. And by the way, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you for sharing this podcast. Thank you for giving me a review. And if you haven't already given me a review, I would love it if you would either hop on over to Apple or Spotify or whatever podcast app that you love listening to podcasts on. If there's a way to leave a review, thank you. I would so appreciate if you would leave me a review. So thank you for doing that. Hint, hint. And the reason why I say that is because when you review a podcast, it actually lets the podcast platform know that, hey, people really enjoy this. People are listening to this. Let's share it with more people. Let's suggest the podcast to others. And this is how some of my clients have found me, is because of my podcasts and listening to me, like, talk about speaking and talk about having a signature speech and talking about how it's the fastest way to grow your business, and it's organic marketing, and what a fabulous way so that you stop wasting time, energy, and money and just do the thing It's actually going to put you in front of your ideal clients, the thing that positions you as an expert, because we all know that clients hire experts. So I'm definitely a better speaker, definitely more animated. And I really have enjoyed this podcast. Now, for me, like this is my platform. I get to come here and talk about whatever I want to talk about what I know that matters to you, what I want you to learn, what I want you to understand. Not only my story of being a reformed, painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker. And I share that with you because if you identify with being that shy person, just to know that, wow, I was able to overcome that. And guess what? So can you. Just because you've been labeled, whether you've labeled yourself or somebody else has labeled you shy, does not mean that you can't overcome that shyness and become a speaker. As a matter of fact, a lot of my clients have come to me, and that's one of the first things that they said. I'm afraid of public speaking, but I want to overcome this fear. And they have done some amazing things, gotten on TV, gotten on, booked as speakers on cruises, got paid to write books. And they all say the same thing, that when they started speaking, because of everything that I put into my coaching program, they felt like they had 5 years of experience the very first time that they walked out in front of an audience, the very first time that they were a virtual speaker. And that just makes my heart sing. So clients have found me. So thank you very much. Thank you in advance for sharing this podcast with others and writing a review, because that's how other people can hear this. And it's part of my mission. It's part of my mission, to be able to share with you that you have a voice, you have a story, you have a solution that somebody needs to hear, and the world needs you. You are a part of somebody else's journey. So if you're sitting back, just holding back your story, holding back because you think like, who am I to speak? Who would listen to me? Who would book me to speak? I'm not XYZ, fill in the blank with whatever excuse you have. I'm too old. I'm not interesting, and I just say, yay. And that just means that you're more relatable to your audience. If you don't think you're interesting, like actually one of my clients today, we were talking about some of her key points. And if you're listening, you're probably chuckling right now. But we were talking about like some of her key points. And I said to her, I said, like, these 3 key points, this is literally the essence of you. And this not only can this be a presentation, but each of these points can actually be their own presentation. And she said to me, she goes, I don't see it, but I trust you because you're doing your thing. She's like, you see it, so I believe you. So we had kind of a chuckle about that. So it's just a great way for me to reach more people. That's beyond the speaking audience, because there's so many people who do listen to podcasts. But there's also a big group of people who don't listen to podcasts. So that's why this has also turned into, and this has been part of my 2-year journey, this has turned into a video cast as well. And that's why it's also over on YouTube. So a little bit about what's to come. About a couple of months ago, I started thinking about, there's so much more that I want to share on my podcast, but I really believe in keeping it like in my lane. And that is about, how do you speaking as your best form of marketing? How do you speaking, to excel in your career? How do you speaking to excel and market your business? But there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. And that is about developing as a person. You heard me just a moment ago talking about I kind of teased about my journey about self-love. Well, I'm going to start talking about some of my personal development, my own journey, but also some of the things that I see in my clients that I want to share with you. So it's not necessarily going to be a regular episode, but we're actually going to have some special episodes that will probably be coming out on, nothing is finalized yet, but these episodes drop on Sunday. And so these special, like deep dives, if you will, are going to happen on Wednesdays. And I'm going to be talking about things like responsibility, self-love, setting goals, being your biggest critiquer, critiquing yourself, because we all know, like that gremlin, the committee, as I call it, that loves to evaluate everything that you're doing. So these are some of the things that I want to talk about that definitely form me as a person. And I'm hoping by me sharing some of my personal development stories that you'll see your own personal development story, or maybe even discover, hey, this is an area that I need to be working on as well. So that is something that you can expect probably this fall. And whoever is the woman who actually produces and edits my podcast, this is going to be the first time she hears about this as well. So that means that there will be, for a season, probably 2 episodes that are coming out a week. So now that I've said it, this is also my accountability. You, my audience, actually gets to hold me accountable. That's actually how I wrote my very first book, is I told somebody that I was writing a book. And self-integrity is one of my highest values. And when I say I'm going to do something, I definitely do it. So now that I've told the world by sharing that on my podcast, you now know that there's going to be some special episodes that are coming out. So there's a lot of different episodes that I've done, in the 100, since this is 111. And it's not like I could pick out any particular episodes that I'm like, oh, like go listen to this one or that one. But I would have to say, The Power of Three, I refer to a lot. I tell people to go listen to that one because it's really about neuroscience. And me, if I was to go back to school, it would be to study neuroscience. I'm a neuroscience geek. I love, love, love the brain and how it works and understanding it also. So definitely like The Power of Three. There have been, I had one of my first guests was on Pinterest. Pinterest marketing. That was a great, great episode as well. And I've interviewed some wonderful people, and I've been, guests on some wonderful people. What are some of the other episodes that I've really enjoyed? Are the ones where I really just opened up and was able to just have real conversations and share with you behind the scenes. I think some of my other favorite episodes are when I finally started bringing on some of my clients to talk about their journey, because that was something that I didn't do for a good year, maybe even a year and a half, because I think that that's only something that I've recently done. And to be able to highlight them and share what they're doing in the world, really brings me great joy. That's what, I brought them onto my platform, OPA, other people's audiences. And just to be able to also highlight, where they were in the beginning, what did they think of speaking, how they were shy, and what are some of the goals that they were able to accomplish, both the expected goals, but even some of the unexpected results. One of my clients, and you probably just recently listened to her, Kim Davidson, she talks about how now, once upon a time, she just kind of hid in the background, hid in the corner. And now whenever she's speaking, whether that's online or in person, that she's wearing red lipstick. And she said that's something that she didn't do before. And that piece of advice came from because a makeup artist shared with me to wear lipstick. She said, because as an audience member, so I can see your mouth move. And I have a little bit of lipstick on here today, but I get it. I like to wear red also, or a version of red. And my makeup friends who are listening, good friends, who was also a guest on the podcast, she's probably doing a little happy dance, because I remember her once giving me a gift of red lipstick. And I was just like, oh, This is hard, but I've managed to, I embrace the red because of, it's kind of like wearing your favorite jacket, your favorite sweater or something. It's just, it's part of like that uniform of how you show up. And red lipstick now is a part of that for me. It's just like, who do I get to step into when I'm wearing the red lipstick? So that is something else that that I've been able to do while I've had this podcast and be able to share this platform with you all. So it's been a wonderful 2 years. Thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart for listening. And here's to, if I had champagne and I was we were cheering together, it would be here's to another year. And I would love to hear from you. Feel free to, let's continue this conversation. I would love to know, like, what topics do you want to hear about? What were some of your favorite episodes? Hit me up in the DMs over on Instagram. My handle is down below in the show notes, but it is Laurie-Ann.Murabito. If you're not following me, come and follow me. That's where I continue the conversation. And love to know what you think of the podcast. So feel free to come on over there and chit chat with me. It's really me and not some team member that is actually answering. So until next week, be in demand. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And join me over in my private Facebook group for more tips, community, and free trainings. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also help this podcast reach more listeners by leaving a review. And as a thank you, each month I pick one of my reviewers to win a free coaching call with me. So if you haven't done so already, please leave a review and you could be the next winner.